Hello! This is my Hawk 250. It actually used to be my wife's, but now I use it for work commuting, and it does a pretty great job at it. Anyways, I'm going to be showing you how to do a rear sprocket and a front sprocket upgrade. These are the only two parts you need. I have a 45 tooth sprocket in the back, and I have a 17 tooth sprocket in the front. Both are available on Amazon, and they're both Japanese made. They're really good quality, and they're also quite affordable. So a little bit about what this upgrade actually does is by changing your gearing from your stock to upgraded ones, and by upgraded I mean less teeth on the back and a couple more teeth on the front. All it does is enable you to go at higher speeds without your engine having to work as hard. So your starts will suffer just a little bit, like you won't be able to take off as quickly. It's not going to be a drag bike. With your stock sprockets, you might be going like wee. All these sprockets are going to do is when you're going 55, 60 miles an hour, you're going to be going like wee. That's all it helps with. So all you're really doing is trading your low end torque for top speed. It depends on what you feel like using your motorcycle for. Step one is you're going to want to find a way to free up your back tire. It needs to be able to move like this, and it needs to be able to be sitting on a stand like this. If you don't have a stand though, that's really nothing to worry about, because what you could just do, and this is what I've done before, is you could just lay the bike on its side, shut your gas off so it doesn't pee gas everywhere, and then you can just continue the same tutorial just with the bike on its side. You can still take the back tire off. It should be no problem. But in case you're interested, I was able to get this motorcycle stand at Harbor Freight for only about 30 bucks. So you're changing both gears, the front and the back sprocket. So step one is you're going to want to take your front sprocket cover off with an 8mm socket. Should only be 3 bolts, and then your rear sprocket or your front sprocket cover is free. Using the same millimeter socket, take your back chain cover off. Now it's time to free up your back tire. So we're going to take some tension off the chain, and you're going to take a 13mm socket and loosen up these chain tensioning nuts right here. Same thing goes for this side right here. Take a 19mm socket and take it to your back swing arm. Your bike might rock back and forth a little bit on the stand if you choose to use a stand. So my suggestion is maybe have somebody help you. I have this weight tied to my front tire right here to help me with that. So my camera lady isn't here, so I'm gonna have to show you this by myself. But once your chain is just chilling there, you don't have to worry about your back disc brake, because the tire should just slide gently out of it. And take a couple taps to get those threads started to come out, and then pull that big bolt out. After this, your back tire is going to come off, so just be careful. And then the weight will be offsetted on your front, but I'm sure you'll be fine. Okay, take that out. Oh, there we go. Check that out. It should just gently glide out of your back disc brake, and you won't have to touch the disc brake or anything. It should just sit right there. So now your tire is free from the motorcycle. But since we're going to be working on the other side, and I know you guys like your disc brakes, make sure to set it on something soft. I'm using this pullover hoodie right here, and I'm just going to set it right there. And now we can work on our rear sprocket. Take a 14mm socket. All these nuts have to come off. All of these nuts have thread lock in them. I've already pre-loosened them up, but they're going to be a little difficult to take off. So if you need a bigger ratchet or something, or if you need to stand the tire up and have somebody help you, that's perfectly fine. So after your nuts are off, you're going to need a tool called snap ring pliers. I picked these up at Harbor Freight for 5 bucks, maybe less. So these probably will be the only specialized tool that you use throughout the entire video, but an interesting thing is my snap ring pliers will actually not open wide enough for me to take this snap ring off. So what I'm going to do, instead of using the holes that are meant for the snap ring pliers, I'm going to slide the snap ring pliers in between where the holes are supposed to go to gently push the snap ring above where it's supposed to go. So once you've done that, you don't typically want to do this, but I'm only doing this because my snap ring pliers actually won't open wide enough for it. Is once you have that over there, you don't want to destroy this, because as you can see, your sprocket is still in there without the nuts holding it on. So it's really more of a safety measure. You have to put this in, or else your sprocket could. It's just another measure of keeping your sprocket on to keep you safe while you're driving, especially at high speeds. Just pop it off, just like that. I mean, that's not typically what you want to do. It should be able to be inserted with no problem after that. You can see after we've taken that off, our sprocket is free. But if it got a little bit bent because of that, just go ahead. Just bend it just right back like that. So for safety purposes, this is how I do it. You're going to want this grooved side down, so these kind of split line threads will fall into the holes like this and not jiggle around like that. So take your threads, the threaded side, and put it straight down. Just like that. And then you want it exactly like this, flipped like a pancake over on top of this. Okay, so once you've done that, you should see that right here you're going to have the same amount of gap all the way around the circumference of this to be able to put your snap ring back on. There we go. And after that's done, put all your nuts back down, and it's highly recommended that you torque them to 43 foot-pounds. Back tire's done, so it's just going to chill there for a second, and now we move on to our front sprocket. Since your chain is loose, just go ahead and remove it from the whole assembly, and then take a 10mm socket to both of these guys. Set those to the side. We are recycling all nuts and bolts here because all we ordered from Amazon was the gears, and this should be keyed to slide out. Then you take this guy out. So you want to take your front sprocket and then slide it over your spline, and then make sure you do these steps independently, because if you put these on at the same time, they're not going to line up. So as you can see right here, if I push this on, there's a little divot right here where the spline is, and once you slide that on, you can move it independently, and then it'll line up with the hole. And then you can put your bolts in. I'm using these bolts that I made. This step's entirely unnecessary, but I drilled a hole in them, and I'm going to put some lock wire through them so they don't move. But that step's entirely unnecessary. I'm just doing it for myself. So just to kind of explain to you why I did this, all lock wire is a preventative measure from these two bolts turning. Now, I'd really call this one more neutral. It's not really pulling on it or loosening it. What you really want, though, is you want it to tighten it like this. So in an ideal situation, this wire would go a little lower and tighten this up. But it still both ensures that both of these bolts aren't going to come out. So that's why I did that. Again, it's really not necessary, though. Put your chain back around your front sprocket. That one's all done until we've put the front cover back on. Oh, there we go. So go ahead and take your back tire that you've attached your new sprocket to, and you're going to begin the process of lining it up and then sliding it into this back disc brake. What I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to take a nice generous blob of this all-purpose grease that you can get at AutoZone, and I'm going to slather it all over this back shaft thing. You can't have enough of this on your moving parts. So make sure your chain is on the other side of your sprocket so you will be able to feed it on later. And then this spacer is on the other side. It's going to look exactly like this. Take your spacer and then insert it between the tire and the swing arm, and then take this rod right here you're going to want to line it up with the tire. It was a little easier than I thought it'd be. But don't tighten it yet, because we still have to adjust your chain. Go ahead and push it up as much as you can. Get the chain as loose as possible, and then feed it. So, keep it in that position, and then slide it back so the chain has a nice amount of tension on it. Oh, that's way too tight. So once you got your chain adjusted, Go ahead and throw these two pieces of hardware on. And then tighten it up. Go ahead and take your chain guard. For the rest of these steps, you're just going to need an 8mm socket for everything. Now your final step is you're going to put your front sprocket guard on. So remember when you're doing this that the only short bolt that it comes with goes up here on the top. So we swapped our front sprocket with a 17 tooth and we swapped our rear sprocket for a 45 tooth. I'll give you guys updates on how that rides for me here pretty soon. I really hope this helped out. Leave me any questions in the comments.